Okay, good evening, and thank you to both of our candidates for school board here at East Valley for joining us tonight. My name is Michael Dunn. I serve as a superintendent at Northeast Washington Educational Service District. And this is the second time I've gotten to meet with these two fine people. We did a forum in the summer before the primary, and now we're doing a second one. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a series of questions tonight, and we'll give each candidate a chance to answer each question. We'll alternate who goes first, and we'll start with Justin since he's the incumbent. While the candidates are talking, we've asked them to lower their masks so that people can hear. And then when they're done talking and when I'm done talking, our masks will go back on. So that's kind of our ground rules. All right, we'll be here for about the next hour.
All right.
We'll start with the first question. And as I said, Mr. Voelker, this one's for you, or you'll start. The initial question at the forum held during the primary remains an important one as the general election nears. Please take a few minutes to introduce yourself again, and importantly, share your why. That is why you are interested in serving on the East Valley School District Board of Directors.
Hey. Well, thank you, Dr. Dunn. Thank you, Carolyn, for being here. Thank you to the folks here tuning in on Zoom. My name is Justin Voelker, and I'm currently the district representative for district number 3. I've lived here in East Valley for 12 years, moved here in 2009. I am the chief financial officer at Multi-Care Valley Hospital, is what I do during my day job. I've been married for 21 years and have 2 children. One, a recent graduate here of East Valley High School, and another, my son, who is a freshman. Both my kids have gone through the entire East Valley system from elementary, middle school, and high school. Over the years, in terms of my educational experience background, I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I have a master's degree in business administration. And I've worked in several different states from the Southeast to the Southwest, now back to the Pacific Northwest, where I'm from. I was born and raised in La Grande, Oregon, if you folks know where that is, in Eastern Oregon. In terms of why, I ran for office in 2013 because I was unhappy. My wife and I were unhappy with how the direction the district was going. I felt we could make substantive change. And we were elected, and I felt we did that. But one of the reasons I ran is, well, we could have put our kids in private school or choiced them into another school. We were deeply concerned about what would happen to the other students and the other families in our community. And so that's why I chose to make that leap and run. And I feel like it's been a very successful change that we made at the time, moving back away from a K-8 environment. And I've enjoyed working on the board and being here. And those connections to those kids and making a substantive difference for families in our community is some of the reasons, one of the many reasons that I have chosen to run again for the school board here in East Valley. So thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn, same question.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Petersen. My family and we moved here in the summer of 2017 and fell in love with East Valley. I'm running because I love it here, and I love being a part of the community, and I love being a part of the schools. We have 5 children. They're in high school, middle school, and 2 in elementary. Our son just recently graduated. We've been happy here. We've been happy with the administration. We've been happy with the community feel of this area. I was an Air Force kid growing up, and so I've moved a lot of places, and then I became an Air Force wife, and we moved more places. And I've seen a lot of different areas. I've seen a lot of school districts. I've seen a lot of different ways to do things. And so I feel that although I don't have any current school board experience, I have world experience and life experience, and just the variety of different areas that we've been in will lend to just different ideas and different ways of doing things. I have a bachelor's degree in recreation management and youth leadership from Brigham Young University. I currently serve as the president of our young women's group at church. There's about 15 girls ages 11 to 17. I'm also a part of the PTO at Trentwood and the Booster Club at East Valley. And I know that the middle school is starting a parent collaboration committee, and my husband and I are looking to get involved in that. We I enjoy being outside, I enjoy participating, and I enjoy being a part of the East Valley community.
Thank you. Second question, this time we'll start with you, Carolyn. And you, both of you touched a little bit on this in your first answer, but maybe you can expound on that. What are some specific things that make you proud to be raising and educating your children in the East Valley School District?
So we started school in California with Alex. My husband was stationed at Travis Air Force Base. And 2 weeks before school ended, we got a phone call saying that the school had run out of money and school was over. Like Friday was the last day. And so we are coming from the experience of where there's too many kids and too many issues and there's not enough money, to then moving into South and North Dakota, where we come into a smaller community, more of a community school type of environment. And that is the thing that we felt very particularly at East Valley. We spent our first year in Spokane, actually in District 81. We were living in a rental property up north. And as we were looking for a permanent home, we found that the East Valley community and the way that the teachers interacted with the students, the way the administration and the superintendent reached out to the families, I felt there was a lot of communication. I felt that there was a lot of explanations. If there was a question, I felt that it was addressed with. And so that is something we've been extremely happy with. As far as the education, I feel that there's been a large variety of education that our kids are exposed to. In particular, for example, my son was able to take ASL at the high school and be able to learn that skill. And I know that there's a lot of skills, or that language isn't very common at some of the high schools. And that's been a skill that he has now been able to continue to use past high school. I know that the trade classes, as far as the metalworks and the shop classes in the high school, are really well done. And so I feel that the variety of classes that are offered really lend itself to a lot of experience and a lot of different avenues for kids to have their education.
Thank you. Justin, same question.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to address it kind of in a kind of a sequential fashion with elementary, middle school, and high school. So some of the things that I'm proud of being both a school board member and a parent here in the East Valley School District at the elementary level is how well our teachers and staff engage those students and get them excited about learning right at the get-go. And I saw that through my own children, and I see that every day when through other kids, other family members, et cetera. And that's really an exciting thing because, we missed that with COVID, and getting back to that is a great thing. When we're talking about the middle school and having that change and moving that together here, putting that collaboration and making those transitions for students and getting them the chance to have elective and start thinking about what their life is going to be. Those are some of the exciting things that I'm proud about here in East Valley. And then when you get to the high school, I'm excited about a number of things. The administrative staff there is great. What I would also say is we have incredible advanced placement programs. Our teachers and staff do a great job there. We got great vocational programs, so we can address both ends of the spectrums, from folks that want to go immediately to work versus wanting to go to a university. And what I find when we go through all of these things at all levels is we see one common thread that ties us all together is the teachers. There's a significant commitment and dedication by our teachers at all levels to our students. And that is what I think has been the salient point in terms of the great experience my kids have had in this district. Thanks.
Thank you. Our third question, and again, we'll come back to you to start with this one, Justin. The past year and a half have presented numerous challenges for K-12 education, to include the most recent COVID Delta variant surge that began later in the summer and only now seems to be leveling some. What issues and challenges do you think are the most important for the East Valley School District to address in the year ahead, and discuss why you feel this to be true?
Okay, I'm going to address that in two components here as well. So I'll address it first from from an academic standpoint is with kids being out of class and on their own, studying on their own, studying at home, we need to reintroduce that rigor. And where do we come back for students to be learning and getting back and catching up? I want to say catching up. Maybe that's the best way to say it. Catching up on our academics. Right now, we're doing assessments to see where we are and find out where we need to go. And I think that's very important. The second component is the mental health of the kids. This is a traumatic, once in a century type of event. And our kids are seeing untold amounts of mental health pressure, everything from significant anxiety to ADHD, depression, substance abuse. And so we need to wrap our arms around it. And how do we deploy those mental health resources? Is it partnering with Frontier Behavioral Health? Is it working with the counseling program at Whitworth to get more counselors out here to help us? You know, there's a lot of different opportunities, and those are things that I like to discuss with our administration in terms of dealing with that. So those are really the two priorities I would put out there related to both our students and COVID-19.
Thank you. Carolyn, same question.
I think one of the issues that I'd like to see not most addressed, but kind of at the top is just getting that connectedness back between our families and our students and our schools. Getting kids and families back into the classrooms and hallways, getting activities back to full strength of participation, and getting our families back to being comfortable being in the schools, being comfortable with the way that the schools are handling COVID, getting comfortable back with the way that we used to be, and having that connectedness between our teachers and our activities and our families. The other thing I think we need to focus on is the confidence of the students. There's when you miss out on a normal classroom classroom setting, when you miss out on a season or 2 or 3 of your sport or your club or your instrument, when you miss out on a year of your foreign language, you start to lose confidence in what you're able to do and what you're able to accomplish. Even though our kids have those skills, building their confidence back to where they feel that they can do it proudly, that they can do it efficiently, that they can do it competitively with other students in the city. I think building our confidence back into our students and allowing them those wins and those areas of strength that they can shine forth, and they can and prove that they can do that to themselves and to those around them.
Thank you. Our fourth question, and you both sort of touched on this, but maybe you can expound, and we'll start with Carolyn. What are the top 2 or 3 priorities that you would like to see the board focus on if you are elected?
I was invited into a Facebook parents group, and I've just been kind of watching and listening to what a lot of the parents are concerned about. And I'm watching what's happening over in the Central Valley District, what's happening with their board and their superintendent. And I feel like one of the main priorities is just to bring a level of calm and a level of confidence in what's happening, a level of just getting everyone back together and back onto the same page, where our kids and their education are the priority of what happens. And I feel that the school board and the superintendent's office lead that charge. And so just getting a calm back into education and into our community and what's happening, I think that that's a massive priority. Another priority I know that's coming up is our district is due to put together the sex education curriculum starting next year. And so I feel that that is a priority of making sure that we have all of the areas addressed, all of the, religious concerns addressed, conservatives concerns addressed, liberal concerns addressed, where we have a cohesive educational platform that's age appropriate for our children and learning appropriate and family appropriate, and moving forward with that, as I know that that's something that that's a requirement coming from the state that I feel that that's a priority that we need to focus on.
Thank you. Justin, same question.
Great. I would categorize it into three areas. And the first I'm going to categorize is restoring the learning experience. And so that isn't just academic performance. That's restoring athletics. That's having choir. It's having orchestra. It's having band. It's clubs. It's those kinds of things besides. And it involves the employees too, our teachers and staff engaged. And that's what I'm talking about is restoring the whole learning experience from COVID-19. We've made a lot of progress. There's still a long ways to go. And I know that our teachers union and our classified union are on board and wanting to get there. So I think that's really the first thing I would say. The second is safety. It comes as an important point with COVID. People need to feel safe that when they take their kid to school, that they're not going to get infected from school. That, unfortunately in this day and age, there may be violence at school. And I know we've made some very significant safety improvements over the years with some levies at all of our schools now. And so I think that's a very important thing that we can assure the public that safety is a priority for us and our students. And the third thing, and it's not a sexy thing or a great thing, but it's making sure that our district's on sound financial footing and that we are not engaging in significant fiscal activities that are going to be maybe come back to haunt us at later times. We've seen that with other districts. We've seen that in Central Valley, Spokane, Meade, and it's been a disruptive thing, not only for the staff, but the community as well. And so those are the three things I would say would be our top priorities as a board.
Thank you. Our fifth question, and we'll come back to starting with you, Justin. One of the roles of a local school board is to represent the interests of the local community to the school district. As an engaged member of the East Valley community, what do you believe to be some key interests of the community that you want to be considered by the district?
No, thank you, Dr. Dunn, for the question. I think that it's very important. We have a very diverse community in terms of both in terms of income range here in our community between highs and lows. We need to make sure that we represent that. We also have a very politically diverse community in terms of, well, maybe not a politically diverse community. And we need to make sure that we hear all views, even though these are nonpartisan positions. There are partisan aspects of what occurs. So we need to make sure that we're open. And I think that is a very important point, that we are willing to listen and not shut something down because it may or may not agree with our own either personal beliefs or personal political beliefs. I think those things are very key. And I think that's a key expectation of the folks that when I talk to and say, what is important to you? It's usually their kids first, the other things second. Some of the other things that have come up, in terms of critical race theory or sex ed, those are way down the list. It's usually what's going on with my kids, school, et cetera. So those are the things that I try to focus on. And I think those are the most represented issues that I hear in our community. And those are the things that I will reflect being both open and a critical listener for.
Thank you. Carolyn, same question.
All right. Being a part of the three different levels of education in our family, what I'm noticing is just families want to feel heard. They want to know that what they say is important and the way that they feel is important and the way that they think is important, and it's not, and they don't want to feel belittled. And so I feel having an open communication, having a continued collaboration work between families and school and teachers and the school board, I think that's an important aspect. I also think that it's important to make sure that we are continuing to enhance our vocational programs, our music programs, our art programs, to make sure that those avenues, as well as education and university focuses, are as well thought of and as strongly focused on. I know that not everybody dabbles in each one of those, but we do have kids in our community and our district who do dabble in those. And we have kids who are strong academic learners and work well as a teammate and work well with music and work well with their hands. And we need to make sure that we're providing all of those opportunities, equal opportunities for all of those kids to be able to be learning and to be able to be growing to be their best self.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Our sixth question, we'll start with you, Carolyn. An imperative for every school district is to serve students with a diversity of interests and learning needs, and you've both touched on that. An impact of the pandemic has been inequitable effects for different students and families. What is the school district's role in ensuring the needs and interests of all of the students in the district are addressed, and how can or does the school board contribute to this important work?
That's a big one. I think when we're talking about equality and making sure that everyone's voice is heard, that again, I mean, I said it, that we're listening, that we're hearing it, that no idea is better than another before we've explored all avenues. I feel that when we're looking at programs and we're looking at opportunities, that we are seeing the full spectrum and the full diversity of our community, that we are making sure that each avenue of learning, as all learning is different, is being watched out for and has someone who is heading that interest for our students. It's really hard to get families who are feeling left out to feel a part of it if they're not willing to also put in a little bit. And so making sure that we have opportunities where all families feel comfortable coming to schools and being a part of it and encouraging that, and making sure that we're reaching out as best as we can. And then making sure that, you know, as we are a part of the school and as we're out on our own, being participators in the programs, that we're making sure that we're reaching out to families so they feel comfortable, and making sure that that opportunity is available as far as the families want to be involved.
Thank you. Justin, same question.
Thank you. Yeah, one thing I want to touch on first is I had a conversation somewhat on this topic this summer with a community member. And one of the things I talked about was the structure of equity within our district. Okay, it's not everybody's equal, but we want to structure it so everybody has an equal opportunity. And that's different. And I think in our country, that's something that we all search for, we all want, is everybody is the playing field level. That's what we need to structure as a school board. So one of the things I'll talk about there is specifically when we had the pandemic and we had to go to online learning, we provided laptops and we provided other technical things for our students to be able to learn remotely. Was it bumpy? Absolutely. Was it great? No. But we did what we could, and we made continuous improvements. And when we had to go back to cohort learning at the beginning of last school year, we tried to make strides, and every time we're trying. And what was the overall framework? It was equity, that we want to give everybody the same opportunity to learn. Now, is everybody going to take that opportunity? Not necessarily, but those are the things that we've continued as a school district to be able to do. And those are things as a school board member that I want to make sure we keep that framework in place so that we can have every student, regardless of income level, creed, race, religion, that they have the same opportunity across the board. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question, and again, we'll come back to you this time, Justin. A school board provides the policy leadership for a school district. How do you think the board can best hold the district and its staff accountable for the implementation and accomplishment of board policy and goals?
Well, I'll talk to that based upon my experience, both as being on the board for 8 years and board president. This is my third term as board president. And so the key for that, both as the president and a board member, is having a good rapport with the superintendent and subsequently the staff. Having that relationship, and you're not always going to see eye to eye, is important. And so it is reinforcing, working with your board members to say, we have created a policy, and let's just say it's on something like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good policy we just worked on. Anyways, you have to make sure that you reinforce it and bring it up. Sometimes we all have things sometimes in our jobs that we don't like, we don't want to do, kind of drag our feet. And that's our job to hold accountable. The community holds us as directors to accountable to make sure that that policy is put in place and affected. So those are the things that I think are very important in terms of those relationships. And as long as there's good two-way communication, it is never a one-way type of communication. I think we saw a little bit of that over in North Idaho recently, but it is a good partnership in working together. So,
Thank you. Carolyn.
So I do not have any experience in being on a school board, but as far as other leadership opportunities that I've had is making sure that we are holding ourselves accountable, and that when we come up against something that that didn't work well, that we are willing to see that and to admit that, and then to rearrange that, and to continually work with, we need to be making sure that we're listening to our school leaderships and making sure that when they are telling us that something's not working well or that something's not going right, that we are reviewing that and making sure that we are being good listeners, and making sure that we don't have an answer already being formed, that we're hearing the whole side of it. And so that we can then come together as a group and reformat or rework it, or maybe we're seeing it differently, and then come back to the administration and say, hey, this is how we're seeing it. How are you seeing it? And get a really good back and forth of listening and hearing, so that things are running smoothly.
Thank you. Our next question, we're back to beginning with you, Carolyn.
Yep.
Partnership between the school board and its superintendent and his or her staff is an important one. From your perspective and experience, what are the important factors in assuring that partnership is one which provides optimal benefit to students, families, and staff of the school district?
I think that one important thing is recognizing that I don't know all the answers, and I don't know all the way that things work, but there are other board members who may have a different answer and a different way that things go and have a different perspective. And so I think understanding the partnership between the school board and the superintendent, understanding that we're working together as a group, and that we're working together with the interests of the kids in mind. When it really comes down to it, each one of us are here because we love this area and we love these kids and we want what is best for them. I think if you ask any parent or any family, they're going to say that, like Mr. Voelker touched on, the number one thing is their kids. And so when we all come together, that we understand that we may not love we may not be our idea, but we agree with what's going to happen, and that we have a consensus, and that we agree that, okay, maybe this one or this opinion I sit out on, and the other, we all work together and we're listening to each other. And so I think a partnership works when we're hearing, and we don't think we all have the answers, but we're working to find the very best answer between all of the opinions and all of the ways that there are to work a problem out. And I think that provides the biggest impact and the biggest benefit. We have a little more humility and a lot more listening when we come together to create our best East Valley.
Thank you. Justin, same question.
well, in terms of the interaction with the superintendent, there's three things that I think about. There is communication, accountability, and visibility. So what are we doing? And I touched on it a little bit earlier, both individually as school board directors and as a board to make that happen. So for example, one of our board members is going to be chaperone at the homecoming dance this weekend. So that's just visibility, going to football games, being at the STEM program out at East Farms. There's lots of those different opportunities that we can do to be visible, and that helps strengthen that relationship with our superintendent and their staff. The other thing is having that rapport and not being afraid to communicate with the staff. If I want something specific, I'm always going to ask Brian, but I have a great relationship with Karen, with Neil, and they're able to provide some very specific insights into my specific questions, or even Matt Stevens up at the high school. So I really think that's a good part. And, in terms of a board, it is teamwork. We do have diversity of background. We have a diversity of skills, age, et cetera. And I think those are other important points that when you push it all together, it makes it a very, I'm trying to think of the word here. I would say it's a very strong team altogether. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question, we'll come back to beginning with you, Justin. Given a current climate surrounding school board meetings regionally, statewide, and nationally, do you have any thoughts or perspectives about how you might like to see a more positive approach for community engagement?
Yeah, and I'll touch on that. I know there's been some negative press and with CV and Spokane Valley. We had a large attendance of folks at the end of August. And I gotta say, everybody was well behaved. It was some very robust debate. There were some very salient points that were made. There was some passion, but everybody from our community here had a reason to be here, a voice to be here, wanted to be here, and committed. Was it comfortable? No. I would think both Superintendent Talbot and I would feel, was it totally a comfortable discussion? No, it was not. But I was so proud that we could have these discussions, frank, honest, in context, and here in this community, and not devolve into the raucous issues that happened in Spokane and CV. It speaks a lot about our community. And I think if we could export what goes on in this community and happens at our board meetings in that space to everyone else, I think that would be a great thing.
Yes, please. We'll have that. Carolyn.
I think allowing families or letting families know that they can come and they can come to the board meetings, and that they can speak what's on their minds and speak what's in their hearts, and know that they will be heard with civility. And we will, as a board, lead that charge of civility, and giving that to them. I think that word of mouth and social media can spread. And so when we have really positive interactions and positive exchanges, that goes far more than, handing a flyer out to, hey, come to the next board meeting. When people know that they're going to be heard, when people know that they're going to be treated with respectfully, and that there can be some debate, and that there can be an exchange of ideas, then I think that shows more and gets more involvement, because again, people are going to post about it and people are going to hear about it. And so having positive interactions in the board meetings, inviting families, inviting different people, inviting different opinions to board meetings to get a real feel for what's going on in our community, being involved in, again, being involved in Facebook groups, being involved, hearing what the families are talking about and what is really most important to them. I think that's the best way for us to have a positive community engagement, and to be able to show that we are a civil group. We are a respectful community. We are going to listen to each other, and we're going to hear what's out there and hear what's said. And then we come together again for the best benefit of the children, and the best benefit for our community. So I think that civility is the best way to approach positive community engagements.
Thank you. Next question will begin with you, Carolyn. School board term is 4 years. What are your greatest hopes for the East Valley School District over the next 4 years?
I don't know that I don't have a 90-day plan, and I don't have a, what my best night and what my first 100 days are going to be like. What my 4-year plan is that we continue to get stronger every single day, every single year, that we continue to work together, that we continue to listen to each other. What I want in the next 4 years is to have people, knocking down the door of East Valley to come here. That when we show up at a cross-country meet or a volleyball game, that the stands are packed. That when standing room only in orchestra concerts, that those kids who write and those kids who create art, those are displayed around our school, around our community, that those voices are heard. What I want to see in the next 4 years of East Valley is, the community being involved in East Valley, whether, from the smallest kindergarten program to the track meets and the community thing, the sporting events, that each member of our community, of the East Valley community, feels that they're a part of this, that they have some skin in the game, that even though that their kids may not go to East Valley right now, their neighbors' kids go to East Valley. And so they're going to support their neighbors' kids. And so that's my biggest hope for the next 4 years, is just making everyone feel that they are a part of this process and that it matters to them. Again, whether they have kids at school or not, it matters that the schools do well. And so that's my biggest hope. That's my biggest excitement.
Thank you. Justin, same question.
Oh, thanks. I have some specific things I would say is that I would focus on in our next 4 years is continuing to improve our academic performance, measured both by our state standardized test and how we perform compared against local districts. That is important. That's what we do. It is a measure. It is an objective measure. It's not the touchy-feely type thing, but it is important that we do that. And that's what parents and families expect of us. The second thing is we need to be a good employer for our staff, for our teachers, our administrators, because if you have employees that are engaged and want to be here teaching every single day, that is going to permeate through the culture. And we already do a great job. I want to do an even better job. And that's important as well. The third thing is we need to plan for the future strategically. We need to be able to grow our students. There's high likelihood that the urban growth boundary will be removed. We'll see further development in this area. We need to be thinking and planning strategically over the next couple of years for what will that look like? Will that be, new bonds to replace a high school or a middle school? Those are way out there type 10-year type things, but those are strategic things that need to occur in the next 4 years to lay the groundwork for that to be successful, because we cannot go to voters and ask them for money if we don't have an idea of what that's going to look like. And so those are the things that I would say in the next 4 years that as a board member that I'd be focused on. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll begin with you for this one, Justin, and then go to Carolyn. On the upcoming ballot, citizens are asked to make a choice between two good people. Why do you think you are the choice they should make when they cast their ballot?
Well, thank you. I feel that I would be the choice for the East Valley School Board Director position for a number of reasons. One, my experience here on the board the last 2 years, last 2 terms, 8 years, serving as board president, 3 of those. I've worked through some very difficult times through our district, but I do have the experience. I've had children move through this district. I'm very in tune with what goes on in our community. I also have a background in finance, and that gives me a different skill set than our other board members. And I can, of course, bring that skill set to bear in terms of helping manage our finances for the board. I truly enjoy doing this. It is a challenging job. I enjoy representing our community and hearing those views, having those uncomfortable conversations, because I believe it is community service. I believe it's a calling, and I'd truly be grateful to serve again. Thanks.
Thank you. Carolyn, same question.
Again, I do not have the school board experience, but I have the experience of an involved parent. Every night this week, I've been at the school, at a school for something, whether I've been at track meets, I've been at PTO meetings, I've been at parent advisory committee meetings. I've run concessions. I've been at softball games. I'm on a sign up for the pumpkin carving contest. I have dropped off cellos and uniforms. I represent the involved parent. I represent the parent who's at all of the things and dropping cookies off and doing cleanups and doing signups. And I want to continue to do that on the next level. I want to continue to be and represent the involved parent, the ones who are, being at the meetings and sending the signups sheets around and do that because they want their schools to be the best, and they want their schools and their district to be the best, and they want pride in where they send their kids, and they have pride in where they send their kids, and they have pride when they walk down the halls and they show up at the next event and they rub shoulders with the next parent, because we all have this great feeling of being a part of East Valley, and we high five our teachers because they love our kids, and we shake our administrators' hands because they work hard on behalf of our children, and I love that, and I want to represent that for you, and so that's why I think I would be the best choice for this. So thank you.
Thank you. And finally, our last question will begin with you, Carolyn. No set of questions for any forum of any kind is ever all inclusive. So we perhaps haven't touched on some things that you'd like to touch on. Are there additional things you would like to share that we have not addressed tonight?
I would love to say yes, but honestly, I don't. I feel that this was a great question bank. At this point, I'm feeling like every answer I give is a little kind of repetitious. So I feel like I've said all that I've had to say. So I appreciate your vote if you want to cast it for me, and go Knights.
Thank you. Justin, same question.
Yeah, I would like to add that I've been endorsed by the East Valley Education Association, which is the teachers union for East Valley. I think that's a pretty strong statement coming from our strong teachers union here in East Valley, and I'm quite proud to receive that endorsement. And I would ask for your vote. I have the experience, the leadership, the dedication, and I appreciate your vote by November 2nd. Thank you.
I want to express sincere thanks to both of you, not just for being willing to do this tonight, but also for your willingness to run for board of directors. It's the ultimate form of volunteerism. And so regardless of how this election comes out or other elections, we are very fortunate and grateful when we have members of the public who really do want to help our districts be all that they can be. So on behalf of the East Valley School District and on behalf of education generally, thanks to both of you.
Thank Dr. Dunn.
Thank you.